The wolf thought to himself, "What a tender young creature! What a nice, plump mouthful." The Brothers Grimm.
On the Bubble podcast is a production of jkeldigital.org and souptonutspodcasting.com. For all episode resources, subscribe links, and ways to support the podcast, head on over to onthebubblepodcast.com. Now, on with the show.
Welcome back to On the Bubble podcast. My name is Josh Liston, and today we're talking about the Save Our Show fan campaign for NBC fantasy drama Grimm. There was a push from fans for both a Season 7 continuation of Grimm and also an expanded universe of spin-offs. So I'm not sure if we've actually covered a show where fans have wanted spin-offs before, but today we're going to do that with NBC's Grimm. Now, I have to say up front, I'm a relatively new fan of Grimm, only having watched the series in the last 6 or 8 weeks. I'd really enjoyed the show, but as I'm always out there collecting information for all of the shows we're planning to look at, I actually found multiple references to the Grimm petition, be it a Season 7 or an expanded universe of spin-offs, and that kind of had me worried that am I about to sit through 123 episodes of a show, which everyone online says is so great, but may actually have a Season 6 cliffhanger. And it wasn't until I did a little bit more research that I found out that the fan campaign that we're going to talk about today actually kicked off after Season 5, so a little bit unique there, with the fan campaign to save Grimm firing up actually before what ended up being the final season to date, which was Season 6. So with all that said, I actually found the finale of Season 6 and the episode arc that led to that finale really, really awesome and quite satisfying. But to keep with the spirit of On the Bubble podcast, my personal feelings on the show don't really matter all that much here. We're going to focus on the fan campaign. So I thought a good place to start today would be for me to play a reading of a Claire Coffey quote. Claire played fan favourite Adeline Shade on the show. Claire was speaking here with sci-fi.com in March of 2017. And as you'll hear, Claire actually shares a lot of the same thoughts about what we could have seen in a Season 7 or an expanded universe with the fan community itself and the core contributors to the campaign behind Save Grimm. The following quotation was performed by Lauren Wisniewski from the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast. Shout out to Lauren. And also to my friend Stargate Pioneer, also from the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast, for putting me in touch with Lauren. She's a real talent and really captures Claire and maybe more so Adeline's character in this reading of the piece. So we'll cut to that now.
It would have been interesting to delve into the royal family in the end a little bit more. We lost James Frayne due to scheduling conflicts and got Alexis Denisoff, who was awesome too. The princes. I would have liked to get further into their lives and the monarchy and how that all worked and how that all started. That would have required a spin-off probably because of the complexity there. And I'm sure everyone is very sad that we won't get to meet Monroe and Rosalie's children. That's definitely sad. I wish you could have seen all that.
Over the course of its run, Grimm was said to be, in the words of cinemablend.com, a show that was, quote, ripe for cancellation, unquote. Yet, as fans of Grimm know, Grimm managed to survive many years on the, quote, oft-dreaded Friday night time slot, unquote. It aired on low viewership Friday and often outperformed its genre competition in its time slot. Fringe on Fox, Supernatural on the CW, and Star Wars, The Clone Wars on Cartoon Network. John J. Joe X, author. So the fan campaign for Grimm initially began with a decision by NBC to reduce the final season of Grimm from the originally slated 22 episodes to just 13, which in the TV world is a non-mathematical half season and is often seen as a network losing faith in the future of a show and the potential for a season beyond the reduced 13-episode season. As well as that, NBC also decided to push the air date back by several months to the unusual date of January 6, 2017. Both these moves had the fan community and also the industry community wondering just how can Grimm pay off. All of the myriad storylines that have been established both throughout the series and more specifically during the roller coaster final arc of Grimm Season 5, which if you haven't seen the show, is pretty awesome. So it was a combination of NBC's 9-episode cut and, I guess conversely, the burgeoning potential of networks such as Netflix to both resurrect and or reimagine genre franchises that became the cornerstone of the Save Our Show Grimm campaign, focused primarily on a petition to networks such as TNT and the aforementioned Netflix to extend Grimm beyond a Season 6 to a Season 7 and to potentially even expand Grimm into a canonical series of spin-offs. So just a reminder before we move on, this particular fan action had actually fired up between Season 5 and the yet-to-be-aired Season 6. So the show wasn't traditionally on the bubble mid-season when the fan campaign kicked in. It was after the reduction of 9 episodes, and the underlying signs that NBC appeared to have lost faith in Grimm and the coming Season 6 would be the last season of the show. So what you're about to hear is the petitionsite.com Save Grimm petition, read in part by Sam Loy from the Human Ordinary podcast, one of Australia's truly most stunning podcasts, so thanks Sam for that. And the petition was composed by Grimster family and currently sits at a staggering 22,000 supporters. And I haven't seen many fan campaigns that actually have managed to get that many signatures online, so that's a credit to the show and I guess to the community as well. And that particular campaign sees new comments and interactions every day. In fact, in the several hundred comments that I was able to find the time to read in full while preparing for this episode, the words amazing, best, and ever came up more times than I could keep count of. So we decided to read the entire fan campaign today for the first time. The first reason we decided to do that today is that the Grimm campaign is actually still current, which hasn't always been the case when we've been looking more from the oral history perspective of fan campaigns. And second, there are 2 specific lines that we think make this particular petition more compelling and maybe more appropriate to reaching the ears of an industry executive or decision maker. So we'll jump to that now. Once again, the second half of the petition will be read by Sam Loy from the Human Ordinary podcast, and you'll have to put up with me for the first half. Grimm was officially cancelled by NBC on August 29th. Season 6 premiered on January 6, 2017. 13 episodes later, the final episode aired March 31, 2017. Grimm fans want to see a Season 7, plus a movie or even a spin-off. We are petitioning NBC to reconsider their decision, or another network such as TNT or Netflix to pick it up.
Save Our Show. Grimm is a unique show with a huge range of stories yet to tell. We love the characters and the storylines keep us on the edge of our seats. It's a Friday night staple. It is one of the few culturally diverse shows on television and has strong female characters. It has a huge local and international fan base who are incredibly loyal and dedicated. The cast and writers are brilliant, hard-working and fan-friendly. It has the best crew in the business. It is filmed in Oregon, where it receives tax incentives and creates local jobs. We, the fans from all over the globe, are not ready to say goodbye. We are not ready to give up on the cast who have shared over 5 years of their lives with us. We are not ready. So, together we will fight and show you how much we love Grimm.
Among all the strong and important points made by the Grimm petition, 2 particular points really stood out to us. Those were Grimm is filmed in Oregon, where it receives tax incentives and creates local jobs. And also, it's a Friday night staple. Obviously, both those particular points are neither the most important culturally or artistically, but we noticed a degree of respect from the petition writers given to the industry executives and decision makers that's somewhat absent from many other Save Our Show petitions online. There's a recognition from fans that although they believe that the executives and decision makers are either about to make the wrong decision or have made the wrong decision when it comes to their favourite show, that they realise that those people have their own internal pressures to navigate, they have their own budgets that they need to contain and maintain, And in the end, they have their own set of bosses that they have to try and please, which is something that's not recognised as explicitly in many other fan campaigns. This represents an immediate inflow of cash, and we all know that the eyes of network execs light up when they see the green. John J. Joe X. So sharing decision makers, their inboxes, their mailboxes, in 2017 their social feeds, with negativity and indignation and accusation, may actually have the exact opposite effect than what fans ultimately want. The effect of putting decision makers completely offside emotionally with the fan base itself. In fact, that's something we're actually researching here at On the Bubble podcast. Can fan campaigns actually do more harm than good? Because in the end, it's humans speaking to humans about something created for humans. So we're looking into that at the moment. But just before we move on, the fact that fans recognise that Friday night is tough, not just as being a fan of a show, because if your show ends up on Friday night, it might not last as long, but it's a perpetually tough situation for network executives to build properties on Friday nights that work. By using the phrase, "it's a Friday night staple," fans are reminding those executives that, hey, you actually have something on Friday nights that has survived and has done well, considering where it is on the schedule. And finally, the fact that it was filmed in Oregon, where the show receives tax incentives and creates local jobs, is appealing directly to the fiscal inclination of higher-end executives and professionals within the TV world. So overall, Grimster family did a great job by speaking directly to those executives and potential decision makers in their own language.
On the Bubble podcast is a production of jcaldigital.org and souptonutspodcasting.com. For all episode resources, subscriber links, and ways to support the podcast, don't forget to check out onthebubblepodcast.com.
So to round out today's episode, we thought it was only appropriate that we share a few key thoughts from Grimm showrunners Jim Kauf, who you will hear first, and David Greenwalt, who you will hear second, expanding on the challenges of winding up such a wide-ranging and detailed story, which Grimm had definitely become by the conclusion of Season 5, and then we hear Jim and David share their own feelings about the Save Grimm campaigns and also the Grimm campaigners. These quotes come from an LA Times article from April 1st, 2017, and will be read in part by Josh R. Moore from the Butts in Seats podcast.
Quote, "We thought we had a lot of explaining to do." End quote. Quote, "Yeah, we were somewhat daunted, yet grateful to know that we had this much time to arc out the series. Every year we've had this big bang-up ending, and so we had to come full circle somehow, some way." End quote.
Quoting Jim Kauf, LA Times, 2017. Quote, "I think the fans are fantastic for doing that. It just shows you how much they love the show. I think it's great. Who knows what'll happen? But it's hard to consider something that nobody has put in front of us." Unquote. Quoting David Greenwalt, LA Times, April 2017. Quote, "It's a brave new world out there. It's fertile ground for sure. Everybody's got a myth or a fairy tale." Unquote.